Welcome back to India Decides at 9. We're now being joined in the studio by a very special guest on a very sensitive subject, Sajjad Lone, joining us now to talk about the killing of his father, Abdul Ghani Lone. Sajjad, I remember meeting you just a day or two after your father was killed in Kashmir. You just made a very emotional statement saying that the ISI had killed your father, Hizbul Mujahideen killed your father. You then retracted it. Now Abdul Ghani Bhatt Sahab has come out and said कि अपने ही लोगों ने मारा था. You've been silent about this for a long time. What is your view now on the killing of your father and who killed him?
Look, I'll tell you, when I made that statement about ISI, I'd just seen my father's dead body, and it was, as I later on said, an emotional outburst. But, now 8 years down in politics, in the real world, it's very difficult to pinpoint a blame and sustain it once you are talking about an institution. But all through these 10 years, I've been suffocated. I got stigmatized. I was called a traitor, somebody who's betrayed the cause, for speaking out the truth. And I was never accusing anybody for punitive actions, because Lone Sahab had gone, we could not get him back. The idea was that nobody else should be killed, that we should stop further killings, so we should reveal the identity, that we should not facilitate a culture of unaccountability.
So you're saying that your first initial reaction, which you stepped back from a little bit, obviously under a lot of, this environment was very different. You think that what Abdul Ghani Bhatt Sahab is saying now is the correct fact, that there were people within the movement who were responsible for the assassination of your father?
Certainly. One of the problems is, once we talk about assassinations, is it is portrayed as if we are not talking, we are forgetting everything else. But this is one dimension of this whole 20 years, wherein we just can't expect that people who pick up a gun, if they are Kashmiris, can't do no wrong, can't see no wrong. They have done wrongs, they have perpetuated wrongs. And one of the wrongs is killing of political leaders and intellectuals. And may I add that it's a sad day for every Kashmiri to know that every intellectual, every politician, not every, but I would say majority of them, were killed by their own people.
And that includes potentially the Mirwais Sahab, who was killed at that time, perhaps by the Hizbul Mujahideen. There were prominent and very strong intellectuals like
Abdul Ghani was there, Qazi Nisar was there, Mir Mustafa Sahab was there, Dr. Khuru was there. So you have this top cream of intellectuals, of politicians, being wiped out by somebody who we thought were our own. But that does not in any way dilute the intensity of the utterances we have in favor of Kashmir. But yes, there are people there, and we need to put an end to it.
And all these years later, it is important for the truth to start coming out. I mean, just as it is very important for people to realize that there are times in the security force, there's a tendency sometimes in other parts of India where they say security forces have never done anything wrong in Kashmir, and that's wrong. So I think it's important from the purposes of any reconciliation or truth for the full story to come out. That similarly, as you're saying, there were the top Kashmiri politicians and intellectuals, and you've named some more of them. And you do believe that it's time now for the Kashmiri people to realize that they were killed by people allegedly fighting for the cause of Kashmir?
Vikram, if truth has to come out, I think there should be a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So many people have been killed. It has to come out wholly, not partly. I tell you, when my father was killed, I think we also need to ask, or when others were killed, the state governments of that time. When Maulvi Farooq Sahab was killed, I think Mufti Sahab should answer, he was the Home Minister. When my father was killed, I think Farooq Abdullah Sahab should ask. They had all the intelligence inputs suggesting attack on these leaders, and they did nothing at all, trifle little, to stop it. This angle is as deadly as those. That's a white-collar killing. There is an active facilitator and a passive facilitator. Let the truth come out.
Okay, Sajjad, the people who have facilitated it, and there are people whom you quite often sit on the same side of the table as, who may or may not have facilitated this. Do you still feel angry? Do you still feel it difficult to be dealing with them as colleagues, as partners in the separatist movement, when you know or you feel that they were behind the killing of your father? And I think you know whom I'm referring to.
You see, I have no anger, to be very honest with you. I want to forgive anybody who has killed my father, but I don't want people to forget. And I think we have a right to know who killed whom. Unless and until we don't uncover, we don't take the veil off, more people are going to get killed. I can't get my father back, but let us put an end to these unidentified killings. They have consumed our precious lives of intellectuals, politicians. We need to put an end to it. And it will be good for Kashmiris. There are some people who want to portray it as if it is anti-movement. No, it's not. Speaking truth is certainly not anti-movement. It is pro-Kashmiri and pro-Kashmiri. The better people understand it, the much better it will be for their own children, for their own fathers, that they will be saved.
All right. Sajjad Lone, thank you so much for joining us with that viewpoint.